Throughout the years we have watched as digital media platforms have evolved. We repeatedly release our information online in order to further our experience and involvement in the digital world. Platforms which were once mere novelties that allowed us to interact with others and receive gratification from their likes on our profile photos are now algorithmically monitoring our devices without our knowledge. The evolution of digital media has been detrimental in the way that representation is perceived online, in how it is promoted, in how it is challenged, and in how it is censored. Representation brings out the political factions of digital media, as today inequality still continues to loom. The tabloidization of the online world throughout the years has impacted the way in which we base our support for political movements, which often presents a challenge for politicians, as the public are now gaining access to information more frequently through social media. Further theorized by Professor Andrew Chadwick, stating that news media provide resources for citizens to participate in politically significant behaviours, as the active audience tradition in media research has amply shown. People use news to collectively construct everyday narratives to make sense of public events. News sharing on social media is now an essential part of this process. Digital media has now become one of the largest data-consuming and data-distributing networks of our time. The surge of clickbait culture has displayed an impact on how representation has evolved with digital media. We are seeing a change in how the general public obtain worldwide information, which can also be damaging depending on the distributing source. Pew Research recorded that 66% of Facebook users said that they get their news from the site, rather than from traditional news platforms. An example of clickbait having a damaging impact on a person's representation is the 2016 US presidential election. Both Hillary Clinton and Donald Trump had strong online campaigns, although this led to a number of false headlines and articles being released designed to hurt the Hillary campaign. Titles such as WikiLeaks confirms that Hillary sold weapons to ISIS and Pope Francis shocks world, endorses Donald Trump for president. These are fake articles designed to further support for the Trump campaign. Though this style of journalistic malpractice is often common and easily recognised, the time leading up to the election allowed for the easy manipulation of digital media platforms. It's a period of time that can sway voters and is therefore the most important time of any campaign. Marx reflects on the collective thinking of the public in the Grundrisse, stating that society does not consist of individuals, but expresses the sum of interrelations, the relations within which these individuals stand. This emphasizes the strength of this guerrilla-style propaganda that targets the concerns of the collective rather than the individual, as carried out in favour of the Trump campaign. Much like the style of low-grade tabloids using exaggerated titles to secure reader attention. In order to ensure that Facebook would combat the spread of fake news, Mark Zuckerberg proposed new measurements that would allow the online community to flag such content. A number of other platforms have also followed suit, changing their policies in order to protect their users. Although many of these measurements impose a number of fundamental flaws for fair representation on such sites, especially when the Black Lives Matter movement began. A mass outrage had erupted due to the handling of such a delicate cause by that of authorities and digital media platforms. In September 2016, Facebook temporarily banned Shaun King, who was a well-renowned Black Lives Matter activist, for a post displaying the racial abuse that he had received in an email. Whilst Facebook did revoke the banning within 3 hours, having claimed that it was a mistake, the revoking followed a number of accusations that had been made against the platform, accusing its administrators of being racist. The Black Lives Matter movement had proven that constraints were being made against them. What they represent and stand for was considered as provocative by higher powers, and therefore required censorship in order to limit their influence. The representation of minorities is a constant battle that is reported daily, which leads to an eruption of political frustration, resulting in the enhancement of democracy. Shadow Home Secretary Diane Abbott went on temporary leave during the 2017 parliamentary elections due to persistent and harmful sexist and racial trolling on social media. Human rights reporter Azmina Drodia recorded that Abbott had received 10 times more abuse than any other MP leading up to the election, as well as recording that Black and Asian MPs received 35% more abuse than white MPs. As a response to the situation at the time, Sajid Javid, the Home Secretary, promised to try and push for more funding in criminal justice, although this proved to be insufficient following police figures that were released during the time. There is a steady trend between representation and influence. The more influence that a person may have, the likelihood of receiving abuse online increases. Although according to many studies, it's been proven that for many people, influence doesn't affect the volumes of abuse that they receive. Just having an identity online can open a person to an overflow of abuse. The NSPCC recorded over 9,000 police reports of sexual abuse online towards children in England and Wales between October 2017 and September 2018, further proving that community guidelines on digital media platforms are ineffective in many cases and can be hijacked by predators and trolls to victimise innocent users. Luckily in the UK, the Defamation Act of 2013 was passed, allowing abuse recipients to seek legal justice in cases of slander. This includes cases such as racism, sexual abuse, sexism, and a number of different areas. Despite digital media's many algorithmic and communal issues, there are circumstances in which representation is enhanced by the ability to promote different messages and movements on such platforms. During the time that the Harvey Weinstein sexual abuse accusations developed in 2017, the Me Too movement began to trend online. Founded by Tanara Burke in 2006, the movement against sexual assault and abuse saw a massive support for victims of sexual abuse across all digital media platforms, following Alyssa Milano's response on Twitter to the Weinstein case. If you've been sexually harassed or assaulted, write Me Too as a reply to this tweet. On Twitter, hashtag MeToo had been posted 825,000 times within 2 days, and on Facebook there had been over 12 million posts in relation to Me Too. This displays how digital media had played an effective role in providing a safe space for victims all over the world, to stand against abusers together, and to show support for each other. Over 39 women in the entertainment industry had spoken out against Weinstein as a result of this campaign, inevitably resulting in his sentencing in March 2020. Thus illustrating that representation can be enhanced through digital media, as when a story becomes viral, its capability to influence others is part and parcel with the increase of global online usage. And therefore, successful representation relies on mass interaction. To conclude, digital media has proven to be a difficult area for authorities to enforce order. Although policing is required on digital platforms, how much room is there before any form of such monitoring becomes restrictive of free speech? This is a contentious issue in many ways, as something must be done in order to prevent the victimization of innocent people. Although authorities risk placing accusations wrongly and facing whiplash from members of the public, digital media has progressed over the years to become a place of activism and has been pivotal in how policies progress in government. Overall, I believe that digital media has become one of the greatest influences of our time and is responsible for many of our beliefs and interpretations of the many elements of society today.